I'm sorry, guys. Mine went backwards there. Apologize. All right, here we go with the rotifers. You're going to get sick of hearing me talk about rotifers, but I can't stress this enough. If you don't master the rotifer culture, you're not going to be successful with your babies. Why rotifers? Because they are small enough for the larva to grab, and more importantly, the rotifers are loaded with amino and fatty acids. When the larvae, prior to metamorphosis, they can't digest food on their own. So the amino and fatty acids found in the rotifers help them to be able to digest the rotifers themselves. We use the rotifers probably a total of 2 weeks, but the first 0 to 5 days are critical for them to have these rotifers. Also, I highly recommend keeping a separate culture of the rotifers. You can certainly, Randy Reed of Reef Nutrition, I believe, yeah, Reef Nutrition, I can't say enough great things about him. We start a rotifer culture with a small bag of rotifers and then his rotifer food. You can do that when you're raising your babies, but it's going to get very, very costly. Start the rotifer culture before you're ready to collect your batches. If you see that your clownfish are having laying these eggs and you decide, I want to do this, start a rotifer culture then. By the end of 3 weeks, you're going to have a healthy, dense culture of rotifers. That is, and it's a piece of cake, really. It's a piece of cake to start with the rotifers. I did want to show you one thing. I brought, and if you lift each one of these up to this bright light, you'll see the rotifers. They're teeny tiny little dots, and they're moving. Trust me, they're here, they're alive. This is what our typical density is for our culture, but this is what it is when we feed it to the baby tank. So I'm going to pass that around. Oh, there you go. Yeah. That's pretty thick. We have about 75 to 100 milliliter in our culture, but then you're going to see there's really only about 20 to 30 per milliliter when you strain it out. The coffee filter is the best way to strain it. If you were to dip into your rotifer culture and get your rotifers and dump it in your larva tank, they're dead. The salinity in the rotifers is much different than the salinity in your baby tank. You must strain the rotifers. If you just take your coffee filter and you put it in a, what do you call it? What's those plastic things? Strainer. Put it in a strainer, and then you lift the coffee filter and just put it in your tank, you're set. Okay? Pardon me? No, because the first 3 to 5 days you have phytoplankton in that tank as well. So the rotifers have food in the baby tank, and the babies have food with the rotifers. The babies? The rotifers? Yeah. A lot of people are enriching their rotifers with salpon. I haven't tried that yet, but I'm going to try it with the next batch. Because that makes them beefier too. I haven't, like I said, I haven't tried it, but yeah, you can enrich your rotifers, but don't do anything with the babies, just give them the rotifers. Oh, really? Because you can't hear me? Hey, microphone. Sorry, guys. Hello? Is that better? Okay.
So what was he enriching them with? What's that called?
Salcon. You can enrich your rotifers with Salcon. I haven't tried it. A lot of people use it if their fish are sick, but a lot of people have also used it for preventive measures. And it seems to enrich the rotifers, make them, you beef them up with amino acids and fatty acids. So if it makes it healthier for the fish, I say go for it. You can get that, I think most of your fish stores, our local fish stores carry it, obviously online as well. I did want to shoot.
We got about 3 minutes until the
I wanted to share one more thing.
They're doing all
this tiny little dish that you can get for $2. If you use one of these in your rotifer culture and you take 3 of these and then strain it out, that's the perfect amount for your babies. For feeding your babies the rotifers. You put this in the culture and then dump it through your coffee filter. It's great. Perfect. That's what you're going to get right here. Okay?
What else can you use rotifers for other than just baby food?
Great question. Rotifers are great. The corals love it. They thrive. Some of your filter feeders as well. Some of the fish that like to eat, like our anthias, they'll eat the rotifers too. Okay. So it's healthy for the tank. Unfortunately, I can't get into a big presentation on rotifers themselves, but rotifers you harvest every day. Mm-hmm. So instead of dumping that stuff down the sink, if you put it into your tank, you've got benefits. So that's why I mentioned keeping the culture going. In between batches, you're helping out with your tank and your pearls as well. You will notice a difference too if you put them in your tank. This is something that unfortunately you may not see. It helped to really show the density when you saw some of this. But we had it in our larval tank as well. And yeah, you can't see the specks, unfortunately, so I'll keep going on. Sorry, guys. All right, so that was that's what we use for our first food chain. The second, many people use the live brine shrimp. We tried the live brine shrimp. It was too difficult for us. I didn't have the time to have 2 and 3 cultures of the brine shrimp and to make sure that I was giving them 1 day old baby brine shrimp. And I was afraid that if I gave it to them and they were too old, they're going to die from it because their stomachs are going to explode. So that freaked me out. So I did a little bit of research, and a lot of the fish hatcheries are using what's called golden pearls. And golden pearls is a baby brine shrimp replacement. It's a powder form. You can just sprinkle it in, and we've had a lot of success. We replace our baby brine shrimp with the golden pearls. We start with that about day 5 through day 14, and I'm still adding the rotifers as well. So they've got 2 of this food sources. Usually within the first 5 days, your babies should be able to hunt by then, and you can start replacing, reducing the rotifer and then adding your golden pearl. There are 3. The size of the golden pearl is about 300 to 500 micron. They come in a lot of different sizes. That's the best for your babies. Your rotifers are about 300 microns. So this is a nice transition as well. They're buoyant, so they seem to mimic what some of your brine shrimp do, and they're loaded with proteins. Our next step, because I don't have the baby brine shrimp and I don't have all that nutrition, I need to beef it up with nutrition, is cyclops seeds. Usually by day 14, they're ready for more food. And that's when I no longer have my rotifers, but I have a little bit of golden pearls and I start adding the cyclops seeds. The powder is the easiest form for me. The cyclops seeds is 600 600 to 800 microns. So again, it's a nice progression from your golden pearls into the cyclopses. We keep that up for almost a month, you know, up until day 28. And then they're ready for the flake food, and you're set. Lighting. I mentioned lighting in the video that we weren't able to see. If it's too bright, the fish are going to, you know, run from it. They're going to bang into the walls. This is some area that's so easy for people to just say, whatever. And we have some people on the forum who say, well, I'm going to be clever. They say, I want my babies to make sure they don't have so much light. So rather than diffuse it, I'll have some atmospheric light on and nothing over top of them. And they're wondering why they're not succeeding with it. They have to have the light to hunt, okay? They have to have the light to see their food. But the first 3 to 5 days, it's so bright and sensitive for them that if you put a paper towel, this is a lid over top of our tank, and the first few days we have 3 layers of paper towels over just a 3-watt fluorescent light. And then after 3 to 5 days, you lessen with the paper towels. By about a week old, they're okay with the light, and you don't have to have any covering over it. But I can't stress that enough, too. It's an easy thing to overlook, and you're going to have dead babies from it if your light's too strong. All right. Hopefully, you'll be able to see the bubbles here. I put this up because this is another thing that's real easy to forget and to overlook. You really can't see that easy. Okay. The bubbles, it's the lowest setting that you could put it on. You barely want to see anything coming up. You would like the air to be able to flow around a little bit. If you have those bubblers too strong, the babies are going to be tumbling, knocking into each other, knocking into the walls, and they're going to be dead on the floor the next day. So start for the first few days, and I know I keep saying the first 3 to 5 days. That's the most critical time for your babies. If the first 3 to 5 days, if you just keep it at the lowest setting, you're done. You're in good shape. But again, it's an area that it's easy for us to just say, hey, turn it on, there you go, I got it going. This is almost as important as the rotifers. It's keeping your tank clean. If you think about it, you've got a little 10-gallon tank. You've only got 3 gallons of water in that tank. You've got live rotifers floating around there. You've got phytoplankton in there. And then you've got the babies in there. That's disgusting, okay? It's not, and we've constantly got food in that tank. So it's like everything that we read about for our regular reef tanks, we're not supposed to be doing, and that's the best environment for your babies. But because it's so disgusting, you need to keep it clean. And the ammonia levels are going to be spiking up crazy if you don't keep it clean. Twice a day, in the morning and in the evening before you feed them, you're going to have to siphon it out. You're going to have to replace that water. Don't forget about evaporation. If you've only got this tiny little tank and you've only got the 3 gallons of water, if you're not adding back clean water, the tank's evaporating and your salinity is shooting way up. 3 gallons of water in a 10-gallon tank. I keep it that way, again, for the first 3 to 5 days. Then I start adding back a little bit of water. About a half a gallon more each day is what I add back. By the time they go through metamorphosis, I have 2/3 of a tank full of water. And I'm hoping that you can kind of see this next video. This is showing me cleaning it out. You have a tiny little rigid tube with your flexible tube, and you clean them. It's really, really hard the first couple of weeks. You are going to suck up dead babies, and you're going to suck up live babies. Telling the dead from the live is pretty difficult. That's another thing that experience is going to teach you when they're alive, when they're not. Typically, a dead baby is really bloated. It's dull looking. You don't see a shininess to it. And I say this because obviously they're laying on the ground. But I learned the hard way that if they're laying on the ground, it doesn't mean they're dead. Okay?